So let's talk about something that stumps even the biggest global companies. How do you break into a market that's heavily regulated? Well, what if the entire way we've been looking at this problem is completely wrong? We're going to dive into a new playbook that shows you how to turn those regulatory hurdles into a serious competitive advantage. The truth is, most companies, especially in a space like finance and brokerage, have the wrong focus. They just fundamentally misunderstand what it takes to actually succeed in these tough environments. They're pouring all this money and energy into the wrong things, and then they wonder why they keep failing. Okay, so let's get right to the heart of it. This is the big question. Is all that red tape a barrier designed to keep you out? Or is it a really sophisticated filter designed to only let a certain kind of company in? Seriously, how you answered that one question, it changes everything. All right, first up, let's break down the way things are normally done, the approach that almost everyone takes, and, let's be honest, the one that so often crashes and burns. It all starts with a huge misunderstanding of the game itself.
You know, the way most people see it, getting a license in a tough market is just about conquering a mountain of paperwork. It's a bureaucratic thing, right? You hire some lawyers, you fill out a million forms, you wait, and boom, you get your stamp of approval. But that view is dangerously simple.
And thinking that way leads to this predictable and pretty painful chain of events. First, every ounce of energy goes into compliance and paperwork. Then, what happens? The delays and rejections start rolling in because regulators look you up and see nothing. No public footprint, no credibility. And hey, if you get lucky and push through, you finally enter the market as a total nobody. And then, the final step, you fail to get any traction because to your customers, you literally just appeared out of thin air. So here's the really crucial point. This whole process doesn't just block your entry. It actually works like a giant spotlight. In a market that cares more about trust than anything else, coming in silent and invisible is a massive red flag. The process itself exposes you as a weak, unestablished brand to the very people you're trying to win over. Okay, so this brings us to what's really going on beneath the surface in these markets. If we want to find the solution, we first have to get the philosophy behind all this regulation. And I promise you, it's probably not what you think. This is the mental flip you have to make. A market with strict rules isn't charting to be anti-business. It's being aggressively pro-consumer. Every single rule, every delay, every background check is designed with one goal: protect their people from shady operators. It's a feature, not a bug. And what this creates is a condition we can call enforced trust. See, in most places, you launch your company and then you spend years building up trust. Here, no. The system is completely flipped on its head. The regulators force a super high bar for credibility before you're even allowed to play. They are filtering for trustworthiness from day one. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? You can't just treat credibility like some nice-to-have marketing goal you'll get to later. In these places, trust is the price of admission. It is absolutely non-negotiable. So, if trust is enforced, how in the world do you prove you have it before you even have a license? Well, this pivots us from the problem to the solution. And this is the game-changing idea that most of your competitors are completely missing. Here it is, the core idea. A license is just a legal document. It's permission to exist. It doesn't mean a single customer has heard of you, let alone trusts you. But visibility, that's what builds real trust, the kind that both regulators and customers are actually looking for. Let's break it down on one hand. You've got the license. What does it get you? Permission to operate. That's it. But brand visibility, what does that get you? Well, it gets you everything else. The actual trust of investors, credibility that comes from the media talking about you, and the ability for people to find you online and see that you're legit. So how does this actually work? Well, a good PR strategy establishes your company as an authority, a thought leader, before anyone even thinks about clicking on your site. When the media covers you, that provides powerful third-party validation you could never buy. And come on, let's be real. Today, Google shapes every single first impression. What shows up when a regulator or a potential customer searches your company's name? That right there is your real reputation. Okay, so if you know all this, how do smart brands flip the script? How do they approach these markets in a way that actually works with this reality of enforced trust? Simple. They completely change the order of operations. This is the big strategic shift. Instead of treating market entry like it's just a legal problem, they treat it like a positioning and branding challenge first.
They don't just show up out of the blue and ask for a license, they spend time building a public case for their credibility long before they ever file that first piece of paperwork.
So the winning process looks completely different. Step 1, you strategically build public visibility and credibility through things like PR and media outreach. Step 2, you take control of the story about who you are. Step 3, then, and only then, you go for the license. But now, you're doing it from a position of strength, with a public track record anyone can see. And finally, you enter the market not as an unknown, but as a name people already know and trust. This is just the perfect way to wrap up this two-part strategy. You absolutely need compliance. That's what gets you through the door, no question. But it's the PR, the public visibility, that actually lets you build a real business and stay relevant for the long haul. So, what this all comes down to is pretty simple. Winning in these markets isn't about working harder with the old strategy, it's about throwing that out and adopting an entirely new playbook. It is a fundamental shift in how you think. And when you put them side by side, the contrast is just so clear. The old playbook is compliance first. It's reactive, it's slow, and it leaves you totally invisible. The new playbook is positioning first. It's proactive, it's strategic, and it builds a foundation of trust before you even make your first sale. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. If you don't define your brand and tell your story, the market, or more likely your absence from it, will define you. By focusing on visibility first, you get to control the narrative. You get to introduce yourself on your own terms. And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. Is your strategy built just to squeak by and enter a market, or is it built to actually win it? The difference between just entering and truly winning, well, that's everything.